Hi, I'm Julie Powell, and today I'm actually going to be doing a review of some Photoshop actions. I was contacted by the wonderful people at sleeklens.com and asked if I would like to review their Portrait Perfection Photoshop Actions collection. And I said, sure, I would love to. So I have been playing around with it for a couple of days. I've had a few images that I have done, which I will go through and show you just briefly. Okay, so this is one that I did. You can actually see the after shot and the before shot. I've also gone through and I've listed all the various different actions that I've used. Another one that I did, which was this one, so you can actually see it's quite a big difference. I've been able to make quite a punch to the face, the eyes, so much clarity. Actually, I love what you can do with the eyes in these particular actions. They're very, very good. So I thought I'd go through and I will do this one, which is quite a bit of a challenge to myself. The other two were model shots, so they've already got their hair and makeup and everything done. This is a cute little newborn. This is my nephew, and if any of you have ever done newborn shoots, this is what they look like. They don't look absolutely perfect. We think they do, and the photos and the result do, but there's dry skin and patchiness, and there's a bit of blue in their skin, and there's quite a lot of magenta in spots and things like that too, which can counteract it. So you can really tell the difference between a professional newborn photo and somebody that's just taken one on their iPhone or whatever. So I thought I would give myself a bit of a challenge and go through and put these actions to the test. Now, to load your actions, if you've never used them before, just go to Windows and go to Actions, and this will bring it up. If you want to load an action, I've already got them loaded, but you just click this drop down here and go to Load Actions to where you want it, for instance the Portrait Perfect actions, and just click on that and click load. It only takes a second and it loads it all up. Now this particular set of actions comes with 56 different actions. Just give you a brief summary. There are some all-in-ones. I really haven't played too much in these. I've actually been going through and playing a lot more with the individual actions. That way I just feel I've got a bit more control. So if you want to play with the all-in-ones, by all means go for it. So I come in and I start from the base. So I've tried a few different ones. The From Scratch is one I particularly like. So you just select that one and you hit the play button. Now a little pop-up comes up telling you that this will flatten your image, and you just hit continue and it'll run through. Now it does take a couple of minutes depending on how fast your computer is in that, so I'll just speed this up for the moment until it goes through. Okay, so it's gone through and done that. Now if I'm to take the little eye off, you can see that it's done quite a bit. If you open the action, there's quite a few different bits and pieces it's done. It's done highlight recoveries and done a sharpen, added some contrast, some warmth, lightened it in a few spots, darkened it, various other bits and pieces. So that's not a bad little start point to go for. Another one which is also really good is, if I get rid of that for a moment, is Cloudy Days. So I'll just run that and then I'll pop back in a tick once it's done. So just click on that and hit play. Again, just continue. Okay, so that's run through. As you can see, it's gone quite sort of red and orange, and it's not looking particularly great on this particular. We can drop this right down, and that will soften it up a bit. But on this particular photo, I actually used cloudy days on the other ones, but I found that on this photo I really don't like it, so I will delete that, and I'm going to go back to from scratch, and I'll run that again, because when you run one it takes over from the other one. Okay, so we're now back with our base from scratch, and I'm going to go through and do a bright exposure. Again, it just comes up with a little pop-up. This basically says that the image hasn't been altered, and you can increase the exposure. So it's got a layer mask on it, and it's set to currently 0, so you can come and you can change this through here to however you want. That's obviously way too much, so we'll just dial it down to about 10. You can come through if you want to with a layer mask and just paint over areas if you don't want it to be quite so bright in those areas. Then I'm going to do a little bit of a temperature change. He's looking a little bit too warm, so I'm just going to come back and hit play on that action, and it just says the same thing again, that it's set to currently 0, and I can just increase that as I want to. So I can go to here, which makes it very, very cold, or I can just take it down. So I'll just leave it about 16%. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to come through to the color correction, and I want to reduce the reds just a little bit. So again, just select it and hit play, and this time it's come up with a black layer mask, which means it hides everything that it's done. It's set the opacity to 60%, but if we get a brush and select white, we can then go in and I can paint in with a nice soft brush some of the areas. Now that's actually, I've got my brush at 100%. I don't like that, it's making it too blue. So, oops. I'm just going to rerun that, and I'm going to drop my brush down to say 30%. And I'm just going to paint in some of the areas where I think he's just a little bit too red. To make my brush a bit smaller and come through and paint that in. A lot of newborns tend to have quite a lot of blue and magenta in their skin because they're still trying to regulate their temperature and what have you. So I'll just play around with that. Okay, so then I bring my actions back up. I'll just move that out of the way. I'm going to go back to the background, and I'm going to do a natural correction as well. Same again, on with the black, and that's at 70%. With a white brush, I can come through and it just puts a little bit more yellow back into the skin, brings it along to a slightly more natural. Look. Okay, so there's some various other bits and pieces that we can go through and do here once we've done the colour correction. The enhanced tones, there's quite a lot here that are very good. I'm going to go through and Summer Love, which is one which is brilliant. So I'm just going to hit play on that. And that didn't work. Some of these you need to come through and merge the image. It's not an problem with the portrait, perfect portrait actions in themselves. It's just a thing with actions. A lot of them like to work off the background image, and that's just the way that the actions are set up. So some of these you can go through and do without flattening it, but yeah, there are a few images that want it to be flattened. So I'm going to come back and try that again. So I'm going to hit Summer Love, and let's put in let's warm the image up a little bit. I probably want to drop that down just a touch, so bring it down to about 25%. Another one that I really like, which is Old Jeans. So click back on the background and click Old Jeans, and that runs through. Now it has put a bit more purple and so forth into his face, so what I'm going to do is get a brush and put that back up to 100%, and we're going to brush that off his face. So because it's got a layer mask, you can just have the action applied to where you want. So just going through and just brushing that off his face. Okay, so I then want to go through and add a bit of a vignette. Same again, go onto the background. Now when you run the tone vignettes, it actually gives you all 4 vignettes that you can play with, and they're all turned off. So that's the Yogi one, which is brilliant. Then there's a blue one, which is not bad, not for what I want to do. There's a dark one, which will just darken the edges. And then there's this lovely cream haze one, which I think is quite nice. So I'm going to pop that in. It's already set to a blend mode, but it's just a bit strong. So I'm just going to drop it down a little bit on that one as well. Then they've got these great light glows. Some of them are movable within the action, and the rest you can move once they're finished. So I'm just going to go through and do just the neutral one. Click back onto here. Just give it a tick to go through. Now, as you can see, that's quite strong. You can't really even see much of the image at all. So you can come through. You can move it to wherever you want to move it to. I might just move it over here a bit. And I could change it to, say, soft light as opposed to a hard light. Or keep it a hard light and drop it right down. So that's pretty much where we are. There's various different things like from a candy store that you could use, which are really quite cool, but they, especially the paint effect, it's lovely and it works really, really well on the darker images. It gives almost sort of like a Norton's effect. So I'll just run that through and you can have a look at what it does. It just doesn't, I was playing with it before, it doesn't seem to quite work on this image as well. Although you could put it in the background and apply a layer mask. Go to 50% and put that through. So it does give quite a nice little effect to it. Softens the skin off a little bit. So that's quite nice what it does. I will also use the advanced portrait retouch.